chained to his hospital bed in Tallahassee. His family rather, say the Canadian government abandoned him, not doing enough to bring him home. I'm now joined by Sacha's mother, Diane Levesque. Diane, thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Thank you, Angie.
I'm so sorry that your family is going through this. We know that while your son was in prison, he'd been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. He was being given medication for this, but the medication that the prison was giving him, in fact, made him very sick.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, he was diagnosed before he was incarcerated, like maybe 6 months before. And since he was incarcerated, a lot of times it's just a budget, like we cut the budget and just get whatever's the cheapest. And they did change his medication. But the fact is that he was put in confinement for the past 10 days. 10 days before he went in a coma with the body temperature of 105. He was put in a cell that had no bars, and it was just a steel door with no ventilation. Mm-hmm. And it had black mold on the walls, and he had a body rash from head to toe. Because he sent me a letter like a week before he was admitted in ICU, and he never came back from it. I don't know how long he was in that cell before they discovered he was there. Mm-hmm. But it was, they say it could have something to do with, they call it serotonin syndrome, mm-hmm. which is like an overload of serotonin in his brain. So when he came to the hospital, they put it on life support, and he's got brain damage and a bacterial blood infection and kidney failure. There's no coming back. He only had 2 years to go before his sentence was over. And I thought I'd go and pick him up at the airport when he'd be deported, yeah. And not having to come to Florida in the middle of a pandemic to mm-hmm. be on his side and have to bring him back in my carry-on bag.
We know that you've been trying to make every effort to get him transferred. This is prior to him being in the hospital. Get him yes. transferred to a Canadian prison to continue yes. his prison sentence. At one point, that was approved twice by Canada. That transfer was approved, but it was denied in the U.S.
Yes, International Transfer of Offenders. Canada right. approved it twice. When it came to the Florida government, they denied it. Because they say that Canada is too soft on crime, and they wanted him to pay for what he did, so they didn't transfer him. And I think they got what they wanted. He paid with his life, with the abuse that goes on in Florida. It's
and you've
sad.
Been in touch with the Canadian government. What have you been hearing from them in terms of their efforts to try and help you out?
There's no more effort now than there was when Florida denied him coming back to Canada. I've gotten no support from Canada. Nothing. I'm on my own since the beginning. And his dad and his brother were the only ones in here. Mm-hmm. Canadian consulate, no. Like they could have, when Florida denied him, they could have, fought for my son to come back, because they're aware of the abuse that goes on in the Florida Department of Corrections, and they decided just to let him there like he wasn't worth fighting for. Leave him there to fend for himself all these years, 17 years on his own there.
Diane, that was what do you think needs to change here? I'm so sorry for what you're going through. I'm so sorry for what your whole family is going through, that your son is in hospital and you haven't even been able to have a chance to speak to him. But what do you want to change in the system here?
I want to change if somebody's is accepted by Canada, if they say yes for the international transfer of offenders, to make sure that the other countries do that. Especially in the States, they're not returning anybody because they want the Canadians to pay for whatever crime they commit in their facility. Whatever they do in their country and they have no rehabilitation. It's abuse. That's it. All it is.
And
But they make them pay for their crime. Most of them don't come out in one piece. And my son's the typical example.
And you've started a GoFundMe page to try
Yeah.
and get that change moving forward.
Yes.
Tell me about that and what people can do to help.
Well, we set up GoFundMe because I want to bring my son back as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And since we're in the USA, everything's expensive, and I don't have any insurance to cover like the cremation, and I want an autopsy done before we leave and get back home.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one thing also, the way it's set up, there's 2 guards, armed guards in the room, and they act like it's a prison cell in there. And their rules are they're not letting me visit like I should be 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff that they're dealing with it as if it's and my son is still shanked to the bed. We did everything. The doctors did everything. Called the warden, called Tallahassee to have those removed, and they say it's policy, it has to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's sad. We're trying. I wanted the facility to release Sacha to me so we could go to a hospice and be in peace, and he wouldn't have those shanks around his ankles,
Mm-hmm.
and the guards wouldn't be there. We'd be one-on-one, and they refused. I had to file for a petition, and the petition's on its way, but they say there's a 4 to 6 weeks wait for a petition. So
before I let
that
you
won't
go,
happen.
Diane, and again, our deepest, we're so sad for you. Before I let you go, and I know you spent every day that you can by your son's side, holding his hand, tell me about Sacha.
Sacha is a kind-hearted kid that's always helping out the underdog. And when he got arrested, he was arrested for aggravated assault because he didn't take the plea deal. They offered him a 10-year plea deal, and he wanted to go to court. They gave him a 20-year sentence, and instead of aggravated assault, he was charged with 4 counts of attempted murder. Nobody got hurt. No shots were fired. And it's been going on since he was put in prison, and it's abuse from day one. He tries to keep to himself. He's a kind kid. He wouldn't hurt a fly. But like he said in his first interview in 2007, they say they take kindness as a weakness. And as much as inmates gang up on him, and as much as the prison guards are instigating trouble when they see that somebody is on their own or is not making any trouble, and nobody deserves this. This has got to stop. Canada is aware of what's going on in the state, and they still don't care enough to fight to get the Canadians back to Canada. If Sacha would have been returned, he would have been out after 10 years.
Well, we know this is extremely difficult for you, and we know that you say that you're going to continue to fight, and of course to be by your son's side. We appreciate you giving us your time, Diane. We're sending you our best wishes. You are in our prayers. Sacha's in our prayers. Diane Levesque, thank you so much for this.
Thank you.